Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you have managed to relax a little bit, have a nice lunch break, enjoy some time with your family and a cup of coffee. And you have joined us again with a new focus and strength. Thank you very much for joining this session. I see that people are still joining, so I will just give them a second. And while I'm starting, I would just want to repeat the house rules. You have heard this a couple of times, but please leave your questions to the speakers in the Q&A and vote for them. We're going to try to address the most popular questions that we see there. You would also find the slides uploaded in the files. You can already find them there. And at a certain point, we are also going to ask you to vote for a couple of poll questions. Now that we have gotten this out of the way, I want to welcome you officially to the session on developing the EDIs, in which we're going to talk about the consortium, the specialization of the EDIs, and how we can organize this. Around the table here, we have me, Kristina, apologies, Kranikova from the DNet. I would give a short introduction. Then we have Adam from HPC for Poland. Adam is representing a candidate, EDI, actually, and he has been a manager of HPC for Poland since 2015 already. We also would have a representative from another candidate, EDI, health tech, Dieter. Dieter is also working in DSP Valley, which is actually a network of companies applying electronic solutions and digital technology. And last but not least, we're actually going to hear from Veronika Libo, who is a director of EU cooperation in arts electronica. And she's going to present to us the STARTS initiative. You might have heard yesterday in the keynote speech, the introduction to the STARTS initiative and how artists could connect to digital innovation hubs and help them deliver better services. So these are going to be our speakers. And if you have questions to them, please leave them in the Q&A tab. Let me start the session with a little bit of background and what my personal objective of this session is. I would like to use this time so that we can share experience, but also inspire you as potential European digital innovation hubs to really demarcate your specialization. While we can see that a lot of the competencies, some basic competencies would be offered by many digital innovation hubs and European digital innovation hubs across Europe. But we know that it is quite difficult for one organization to be able to provide competencies and expertise in absolutely everything. So it is important that the EDIs really identify their specialism and hopefully this would help them to strengthen their region and connect to the EDI network. We would also really like to inspire you to look a little bit broader and think of what partners you can connect to so that you can actually provide a full a list of capacities in your EDI to really service your end users, the SMEs. So with this in mind, I would like to first start with the topic of EDIs and specialization. You might have seen in the background document from the Commission that the EDIs are encouraged to develop a specialization or focus. The picture on the right of your screen should not be new. This could be found in the background documents of the Commission, and you can see that the Commission has already also mentioned that EDIs could look into the DEP technologies, they can look into other digital solutions in application areas and sectors. So EDIs could actually focus on some key technologies, on markets, or a combination of each of these. We're going to hear later on from the EDIs that we have around the table here from Dieter and Adam, how they have done and chosen their specialization. The specialization of the EDIs, we think, should be really connected to the needs and the capacities in the regions. This is very much also reflected in the smart specialization strategies that each region has developed, and it basically boils down to think about what are the needs of your region, think about what you're good in, and then based on that develop your focus. Also, of course, the specialization should be connected to the consortium capabilities. So why do we think that specialization is important? Well, the core of the EDI strategy is really to enhance the capacities and capabilities of the regional ecosystems. And therefore, we think that a specialization could really strengthen the region by really focusing the activities of the EDI and therefore providing better services to the demand of the to the different actors. We can also see that by developing a specialization and a clear focus, which is a little bit more narrow, maybe this could actually create a USP of the EDIs, and this could support collaboration among the EDIs in Europe. So it is really also an added value to the EDI network itself. Of course, that would also allow us to further align between the EDIs and to find complementarities among each other. So how specific could it be? Well, that's a big question. How specific should your focus be? I think that some common capacities will be found in many regions, so almost a consultancy role, but we can find also expertise in specific areas, and this could also be an incentive to collaborate. So my main question, please consider how you can demarcate your specialization, because this could really turn into your unique selling point among other EDIs also in Europe. What does this mean also for the consortium? Well, the EDIs are really free to define their consortium and organization. We would usually expect to see some partners who can address the technological questions. So this is the test before invest function of the EDI, the business development and innovation side of the services, and also a link to support the partners in the ecosystem to network. So these are really reflected in the EDI functions. But also please pay attention that the EDIs are really focusing also on deployments. Therefore, some of the consortium partners should be able to take this role. And also, there is going to be a European network of EDIs, so people interested with the connection to the EU ecosystem and outreach and networking should also be part of the consortium. So, think about these functions. Think how you can further explore your consortium and actually expand it, possibly even with a new type of partners, such as we're going to hear later on from Veronica, artists, and how this could help. Now I want to draw your attention to the poll questions, while actually Adam is going to share his screen. In the poll section, you're going to see two questions. One is whether you think that the EDI should have a more narrow or a more focused specialism, so to say. And the other question is on asking what your EDI is actually going to specialize on. You can see the results also by actually voting, otherwise you would not be able to. Adam, can I give the floor to you to present HPC for Poland and how you actually chose the specialization of your EDI and how are you dealing with your consortium?
Yes, thank you very much, Christina. My name is Adam Olszewski. I work for Poznań Supercomputing and Networking Center, and today I was asked to share with you how we developed a digital innovation hub around our institute and in our region. And actually how we selected the specialization for the hub. Is my presentation now seen?
Not yet, I believe.
Second. How about now? Is it better?
Yes, now we can see it.
Thank you. Okay, so our EDIH is a candidate EDIH. We applied in Poland to become one. But as DIH, we operate since 2016. PSNC is EDIH orchestrator, and our mission that we coined is to innovate the Polish industry by raising the availability of advanced services. We came to this mission by looking at the analysis and the actual market needs and talking to manufacturing companies. What is it that they would expect from the IT environment in our region, and what services they have problems to buy at the moment? So we found a number of services, IT services, that they buy from abroad or that are too expensive for them, and we thought that it would be great to create such services to be available for those companies locally, and so that we can adapt the services exactly to their needs. At the moment, our EDIH combines a few DIHs that have been operating in our region to this point. So at the moment, we divide our members and partners into competence centers and innovation partners. At the moment, we have 14 competence centers. These are mainly universities and institutes, not only from our region, but mainly, and innovation partners, which are consultancy companies, NGOs, and industrial partners, companies, manufacturing companies. You can also see integrators, which are the companies who take the role of suppliers or integrators of services. We participate in a number of DIH-related EU projects. Some of them are there to create the right business model and the right tools for the DIH, and some other are directed to pilot first services, first solutions based on different marketplaces, on different platforms for particular market areas and applications. And now to our specialization. The key market areas that we have identified so far are mainly four. These are automotive, wood industry, agriculture, and medical. I know these are many, but taking into account that we have almost 30 members at the moment, I think we have done a good job by defining these. And I think this is a basket that we still have to narrow down as time flies, because this is something that we have defined at the beginning, but as time flies, market will catalyze these areas. How we selected our specialization? First of all, we look at the specialization of each and every member that joins our DIH, and we allow for maximum 3 activity areas to be defined by a new member. And the main criterion for selecting these areas is the deployment. So how many deployments in these areas can you prove to have? So this is not that you have to show everything that you do, or even that you have to show what you are really good at in terms of science. This is about what you can contribute to the European market. What is it that your institute or organization is best at when talking about technology readiness level 9, and that you can actually sell to the market. So I call it business maturity. We also take care for the members, for newcomers, not to overlap with existing areas in our EDIH. And second level is our EDIH specialization, and this is I find it something like Italian restaurant. So you come to an Italian restaurant and you know you're gonna get Italian food, but you always wonder, do they have pizza, or do they have salads, or do they have other stuff? So I think these are two different things, what we really specialize at and what we communicate. I think today we are talking about what we communicate, and this is, we are Italian restaurant. But when you come to us, you will find out what kind of pizza we sell and what kind of salads we sell. We would love to tell you upfront what exactly ingredients go to the pizza, etc. But this is something we honestly don't know. We find out what ingredients to put on the pizza once we find your actual case. Do I still have more time?
Maybe for a final remark before we move to Dieter.
All right. So final remark is that when choosing your market area, I think innovation potential is very, very important, because what is obvious is that you want to select the area with which you know you're really good at and will contribute most to the community. But innovation potential is something that is less obvious and is difficult to define, because it depends on the mindset of the market you're addressing. It depends on the innovation culture of companies that are in your region. You can have very big companies with huge turnover, but without innovation potential or without collaborative potential. It makes zero sense to address these areas. They must have both collaborative potential, so I understand this as potential to collaborate with other partners, other DIHs in your country or other EDIHs in Europe, and innovation potential, which is about a number of agents, starting with the right perspective, which is long-term and broad perspective on things, and openness for taking risk and trying new things. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. And while Dieter is actually sharing his presentation, I want to just sum up. So what Adam has presented is the specialization of the HPC for Poland EDIH, and he has shown how they have developed specializations on a market and technology level, and really highlighted that for this, the innovation potential has been taken into account seriously. Dieter, could I give the floor to you?
Yes, thank you very much, Christina. Good afternoon, everybody. May I ask the screen to be released, Adam, so that I can start sharing, perhaps? Okay, thank you very much.
Please.
Thanks a lot. EDI collaboration at work. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak here very briefly about the EDI that we are building and our experience, sharing our experience and learning from others in constructing an EDI that actually can work. In the next 5 minutes, what I'll try to do is to convey two key messages or two key positions that we have taken in constructing ours. And that is, first off, definitely pick a focus. Do not aspire to digitize the entire world around you with every available technology. And I will try to explain why that is and also how that can be done. Second message is on this other important attribute of EDIs, which is constructing these European cross-linkages from the one EDI to the other. And there the recommendation would be to start from existing and working relationships. That is probably the best avenue to get to these corridors that Maurits from DIGNET has been talking about yesterday already. And as it happens, defining yourself and articulating yourself, a clear focus helps in forging these links. So these two messages are mutually reinforcing in some kind of way. A bit of background perhaps to start with while I start sharing my screen.
Yes, we see your screen.
Thank you. I'm with DSP Valley, which is a cluster organization like no doubt many of you in the audience. And we work on digital technology. We work for digital technology companies, and that is probably, again, like quite a few of you in the audience. And we do so in the Benelux regions. Our members work along the entire digital value chain, which actually starts from design tools and new materials and moves all the way up over chips and embedded software to IoT devices, big data, artificial intelligence, and the kind of systems that can be built with it to support any activity of humankind. And we do so to develop business for our companies, and we do that through collaborative initiatives in 5 programs, 4 of which are what we call application areas or sectors of industrial activity. But we have a 5th program that we call digital, and that is where we seek platform business, digital platforms like semi-finished digital products that can scale across many applications. And platform industry is an industry where notoriously Europe is lagging behind as opposed to some other geographies. DSP Valley itself is not an EDI, but together with partners, we have constructed an EDI on health and health technology. Focus, that's what I was going to talk about. Focus starts with a vision. Ours is not new, for sure it's something that has come across many discussions already when talking about digitization. You know it all. It's about moving from the current healthcare situation that we have, which in fact mostly is sick care rather than healthcare, to true healthcare, which is much more preventive, much more interceptional in terms of early diagnosis than what we know today. Important in the picture that you see here is that both at the human side on the left and at the twin side on the right, there is a ton of novel digital technology that is needed to make this happen. The entire digital value chain is here at play, and that element I will come back on a bit later. Now, humankind, on the human side, once upon a time, and that's actually not so long ago, if you think of it, humankind decided to dress, to adopt clothing. While that is a daily hurdle, to dress up and to dress down, it has proven to be very valuable for our lives, our ability to move around our planet. And now, to be honest, it's considered as normal. It's part of who we are. And that is, in our belief, in our vision, where we will get in the near future with censoring ourselves. It will not be a hurdle, it will not be a hinder, it will be unobtrusive. And again, like with clothing, it will prove to be very valuable. That is, as long as we get that right-hand side of this picture right, the twin side, which is about privacy of your data, veracity of data that is being worked with, about ethical and accepted artificial intelligence that works upon it. Tons of technology will be needed to make that happen, to build an anti-fragile healthcare system, like was coined so aptly this morning. And when sickness hits, God forbid, the system moves beyond where we are today, the present-day sick care. It moves to personalized care, again, with a high demand of digital technology on both sides of this equation, and the entire value chain of our digital technology companies at play as an enabler. That's the vision. Now, more than a vision is needed to build an EDI. You need fertile potting soil. You need fertile ground. And as it happens, our Flemish region within Belgium, where we stem from, has strong organizations and companies on all dimensions and corners of what constitutes a thriving ecosystem. To name just a couple, and you see that on the right top corner, we have 3 strong clusters with 3 dynamic cluster organizations managing them. We have that on biotech, we have that on digital, we have it on medtech. And as a region, just to name one example, with only 2% of the EU population, this region is home to 24% of the total stock market value of publicly listed biotech companies in Europe. So we do have an industry at stake, and we do have many key players in that industry. Now, this is why our region, our government, has subscribed itself as a leading region for the creation and the adoption of personalized health in its smart specialization strategy. And I think it's very important in defining the scope of an EDI that you align with that smart specialization strategy, that it's an uphill battle to fight against where your government, where your region is going. Yeah. Not only that, it's also fully aligned with the ambition, the Flemish ambition, to develop a spearhead sector in terms of health technologies, a leading edge sector, and instruments are being put in place to make that happen. One such instrument is the Spearhead Cluster Organization that will support the innovation funnel, bringing new technologies and bright ideas to fruition. Make them, and you see the exclamation sign there on the slide, a proven innovation. Move them up on the TRL level. However, that's not the end of it, and that's very important to realize, that to build a regional and a European industry which is on par with our technological capability, more is to be done. Proven digital innovations have to scale globally, because digital, by definition, is fluid. And either a successful implementation expands globally from here or from anywhere else in Europe, or if it's just sitting locally, it will be engulfed sooner or later by a scaled implementation from somewhere else. So that's an obligation. Secondly, these proven innovations have to scale in an industry of followers, late majority and even laggards. Companies and organizations, and I've worked there before, I know what I'm talking about, that are so stuck in everyday firefighting, working with razor-thin operating margins, that they have no means to innovate by themselves. And thirdly, proven digital innovations have to be consolidated. Somebody has to think, what infrastructure do we need to put in place to anchor this achievement that we have now and jump farther the next time around? These three challenges, that is where the EDI comes in.
Thank you. Dieter, could I ask you just to speed up a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Maybe one last word on this topic of focus. If you plot EDIs against the most used mapping that we have now, which is industrial sectors versus digital technologies, you will see that many try to work on a lot of the digital technologies for a lot of industrial sectors. We have chosen not to do so because we find that already in the delivery chain for healthcare, there are many actors that have to be united already. Next to that, the partners that you need for the 4 services that you need to bring: test before invest, skills and training, support to find investment, innovation ecosystem and networking. That's really a lot of partners that you have to assemble already. We don't advocate all EDIs to focus on an application. In our region, there is an EDI that focuses on artificial intelligence, and I think that is an excellent complement to what we are doing, and it's an excellent basis for the two of us to work together. And as a last note, and that was already addressed this morning, there is more than just technology to industrial sectors. It's not a straight road. There are some things, diagonals in between, that also need to be taken into account and that also need to be factored into the construction of your EDI.
Thank you, Dieter. I would, because you can continue later on with the collaboration in the discussion, sure. I would actually like now to give the floor to Veronica, who could also show us how we can connect with partners who might be specializing in another technology, but could also be addressing another expertise, such as artists, such as more socially oriented partners. Veronica, can I give the word to you?
Thank you so much, Christina. I've started to share my screen. Do you see it?
Yes, we see it.
Great, fantastic. So thanks again for inviting me. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I would like to speak about a slightly different topic, about the potential role of artists in DIH, its benefit, and also how you can actually involve artists in your consortium or artistic partners in your consortium. I work for Ars Electronica, which is an Austrian-based culture organization dedicated since more than 40 years already on this intersection between arts, technology, and society. We host a museum, a research lab, and business units, but most of all, we are actually internationally recognized for an annually held festival where we bring together artists, scientists, and technologists. And exactly this bridge between the disciplines also led to our quite heavy involvement in STARTS. STARTS is an initiative from the European Commission, and you may have heard that already yesterday from Francesca Bria, which actually wants to bring out new forms of innovation at the nexus of science, technology, and the arts. The STARTS program evolved also from an increasing demand of tech companies and tech partners that called, in addition to scientific and technological skills, also for creativity and criticality to make innovation happen and also be of actual value for our society. Such creative and critical approaches are very much rooted, as we know, in artistic practices. And that's just one of the reasons why arts gained a huge prominence also as a driver to innovative products, services, and processes, which actually do not only help and strengthen the economic power, but equally address also social and ecological challenges. Clearly, the power of artistic vision can help, for example, to advance technological developments, not only for the big industry, but also for SMEs. Further, artists help to approach to technological innovation centered on human needs and values. Artists can increase research and technology literacy and also understanding, and by doing so, actually lead to new impulses for education, in particular in digital areas. Artists approach topics often from the viewpoint of users and trigger important stakeholder involvement, co-creation, and citizen engagement processes. And last but not least, artists have an excellent capability of making results accessible and highly interesting for a large public audience. If you are interested in involving artists in EDIH, I'd recommend to foresee that either an activity engaging artists or involve one of the already existing organizations in your consortium. STARTS has actually developed over the past years quite some effective methodologies in how to involve artists in specific activities. For example, prizes to single out excellent projects and prototypes, residencies to incubate interdisciplinary innovation, STARTS regional centers to build art tech hubs specifically focusing on regional SMEs and also on strengthening European regions, thematic pilots to develop concrete technological solutions, and also academies to foster interdisciplinary digital learning. We've also learned that to make STARTS collaborations really successful, you need to be either experienced in facilitating these collaborative practices yourself, or you should engage a partner who is. And there, the STARTS community comes in, of course. Up to today, there are more than 120 institutional partners all over Europe currently actively working on STARTS projects funded by the European Commission. You can find about these partner organizations also on the platform STARTS.eu, and of course, ask questions directly to me. Currently, there are already 3 established DIH linked to STARTS, all working in close collaboration also with artists. Bella Factory, for example, enables European manufacturing SMEs to grow their manufacturing business by producing new and personalized products. Media Futures, on the other hand, brings together startups, SMEs, and artists in the media value chain to come up with unconventional ways for people to engage with qualitative journalism and media. And under the vision of value of joint experimentation in digital technologies, producers and SMEs are encouraged to adopt cognitive autonomous systems for human-robot interaction. I also picked actually 2 winners of the STARTS Prize just to give you an example of the manifold directions STARTS collaborations could be used in your DIHs. The first example is Project e-dih, a technological development of 2 European artists and designers who question the use of technology and our relationship to it. that developed an open source and DIY tool to regain control over your smart home assistants. It paralyzes your home assistant and it only wakes it up when you want it to listen to you. It is designed to give also users more control, obviously, over their smart assistants, both when it comes to privacy as well as customization. And a STARTS project, which is used actually in a completely different but also very society-driven innovation approach, is this land use development plan of Barcelona. They actively involve citizens in data collection processes, in big data analysis, in knowledge discovery to develop this land use plan for the city center of Barcelona. And they took into account also a variety of different stakeholders beyond artists only, and ensured the coexistence between economic activity and the citizens' quality of life. Just in general, at STARTS, we are really convinced that arts is one way of being a really important catalyst and taking our social responsibility into account when developing innovation. In case you're interested in the STARTS community, please also consult STARTS EU, or I'd be happy to answer any questions or facilitate also direct contacts after the conference. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Veronica. I think it is very inspiring to hear how we can actually expand our thinking of what we usually perceive as a more tech-led innovation. I would like now to move to a discussion point with all of our speakers. So for those who registered for this session in the beginning, we in the registration form, we asked you to submit some questions, and we picked some that resonated with a lot of you. And maybe the first one I can ask directly to Veronica, and it is, what is your view? Would it be good if the EDIs have a broader and more diverse consortium or not? And how do you see this? Yes.
Well, I mean, we heard that, of course, specialization is highly important, but at the same time, I think it is not only me who is convinced that in your activities, in your approaches, you need to be considering diverse approaches and also, of course, a broad variety of stakeholders. And that can be done clearly by involving diverse consortium members or by approaching strategies and activities like involving artists, like involving different stakeholders in your activity. So that's why I tried to also resemble this in my presentation, that those are the two options you have. And clearly, from our point of view and from STARTS, we saw the benefits of involving the whole society and also very artistic-driven minds.
Thank you. Indeed, you don't always have to have a connection in the consortium. You might connect for a particular project or for a particular initiative. Thank you, Veronica. We also have a few questions, and I would first go to Adam. Adam, you mentioned that you have coordinated already in the region with a few digital innovation hubs in order to create your application for the EDIs. But I also want to ask you, are you aligning your approach with other EDIs in Poland or in Europe currently, and how is this process going?
Yes and no. No, because it's not a formal process, nor some, we don't have any procedures about that. But this is something that happens in the networking level. So we talk to each other, we have each other's phones, and we exchange information about what's going to happen, what's happening, and also about how we should communicate our specialization. Because we came to conclusions, I think many of EDIHs in Poland, that the specialization that we communicate outside is something like a marketing tool. Because your real specialization is one thing, and what you communicate for certain purposes is a marketing tool. It's also a promise. So it's very important to keep to, over deliver and under promise. But to stick to some specialization that you can actually complete when somebody comes back to you. So yes, we align we talk, for instance, there were ideas to have health EDIH or AI EDIH. And for us, it's like when you have an AI EDIH in a country, it doesn't mean that other EDIHs cannot do AI. Because once you have an open call, I think it will be done in a very smart and way, so that it will be done case by case. So you are going to prove that you are really good for the task that you're defining, and it's not going to be, granted based on the name of your EDIH or on the specialization that you communicate. You're going to have to prove that you're actually good at what you're declaring.
Thank you. Dieter, could I ask you the same question? So you mentioned that there is also another EDI on AI, and you see this as a potential collaboration match. So are you aligning with other EDIs in Belgium, Netherlands, or
yes.
Europe more generally?
Yes, Christina, we definitely are, and I fully agree with what Adam said. It's not because there's an EDIH specializing on AI that any and all tasks related to AI have to be carried out by that EDIH. AI surely will be part of what we are doing as well, but then with the focus to direct it towards healthcare solutions, and we will most definitely work intimately together with the other EDIH that is focusing on this horizontal competence. With regards to the European collaboration, yes, we are very much looking into that. We believe it's an essential part of any EDI submission. And as I've explained, we are bootstrapping there from ongoing collaborations. We have a Dutch saying that says that trust comes on foot and leaves you on a horseback. We stand by that, and that means that we will work from what we have currently in place. One example I wanted to give was the Silicon Europe Alliance. We are working for many years together already without, notably, any structural subsidies. And we find a lot of links also related to our health issue that we can work on in this collaboration, in this alliance.
Thank you. I think this actually very nicely refers to a question that we have from Rafaela here in the Q&A, who asks, what about two different EDIs addressing similar technologies, similar territories, but different sectors? Is that possible? I think that in your answer, Dieter, you kind of answer, yes, it is possible.
Absolutely, yes. Need I say more? Absolutely, it is. The sheer competence or know-how of bringing a technology in a workable form to a specific sector, that alone is a lot of work and requires specific specialisms. In fact, what Veronica said with respect to artists and stuff comes at play there as well, because it's about humans. It's about how do we bring these outrageously complex technologies in a context that people understand them, can work with them, and take joy from them for their lives. So, yes.
Thank you. I actually have another question towards Adam, which came from the registrations. And I think that, Adam, you're in a good position to answer this. And the question read, is it possible that a local digital innovation hub, which is based on a local university or RTO, also joins an EDI consortium as providing specialized knowledge? So, Adam, from your perspective, could you tell us, in your experience, how are you handling these competence centers?
I would say this is mainstream, right? That the institute that provides certain knowledge joins a DIH and provides this knowledge via DIH to companies. So yes, the answer is yes, of course.
Thank you. We're almost out of time, so I would quickly go through the most voted question here in the Q&A, which is, what will be the relevance of the sector coverage compared to geographical and technological coverage for the potential EDI evaluations? For this, I would actually like to refer you to a session that Annemarie Sassen gave yesterday, a recording, and the slides are going to be shared after the conference. There, Annemarie Sassen really goes into a detailed explanation of how the evaluations and the ranking of the EDIs is going to happen in practice. And I think that she has the most up-to-date knowledge on that to respond. And we also have a question. Is it possible to have partners in the consortium even if they don't claim any budget but commit to, for example, do outreach activities? My personal view is that partners who want to contribute in kind with their time and effort are always welcome in any organization. But let me hear also from our speakers. Adam, what is your view on that?
I think it's not only about us being happy to have somebody contribute, but also about formal possibilities to include such entity in the consortium. And to my knowledge, you can do that at least with the large companies who are not entitled to be co-funded, but still you can include large companies in the consortium of your EDIH. And I think it's also possible for other type of entities, such as, for instance, American partners or partners from other allied countries that are not member states.
So basically the answer is have a look into your consortium agreement and how it is built. Dieter, do you have a view on this? Are there partners in your consortium contributing without budget, for example, or have you encountered this in your experience?
Yes, I'd like to agree a bit with what Adam said, but to complement on that, yes, we had some of these partners. The issue that we've always tried to look at is the impartialness that we want to be part of the EDI. When somebody comes to an EDI, you need to provide them with impartial advice, the best possible advice that you can give for the furtherance of that company or that organization. Now, if you have parties that take part in the EDI pro bono, but somehow have a commercial reason to do so, you need to be careful about that. It will impact on your brand, on your impartialness, on the way you're being viewed, and we have tried to refrain from that while building our consortium.
Thank you. As we're out of time, I would like to thank everybody for participating in this session, really. I would like to say, please consider the examples that we have from the two EDIs here on health technology, represented by Dieter and the GSP Valley, and HPC for Poland, which also focuses on HPC. Connect to them, and also please take the message from Veronica and consider also how we can connect to some unexpected partners and really take the human approach into the center of each applications. Thank you very much for all who participated, and thank you very much for all the speakers in this panel. And with that, I would like to close the session.
Thanks, everybody.